and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but is not limited to, my boy Tortu. There we go, my dude. What's poppin', baby? How you feeling tonight?
I got it. I'm good.
He's
I'm
in
good.
the building.
I'm happy we're here. We're gonna talk some shit today.
Well, you know what? Before we talk that shit, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Is it all over for you guys? It's middle of August. There's about 30 more games left, 35.
They won yesterday.
All
Man,
right.
Keller looks stellar.
How's your bet look?
Bet looking pretty good. I think I need 14 wins with 38 games left.
All right. Let's go. Let's
Should
go,
be able
Pirates.
Should be able to get that done. That's all I can root for nowadays. I mean, they're
No
they're
playoff?
14 games out of the Central, and I think they're 8 games out of a wild card spot. So yeah, that ship has sailed.
All right.
10-game losing streak, kind of.
When do you think they shut Skeens down?
I don't know if they'll shut him down or if they'll just keep stretching out the time in between starts.
I think it's insane if they shut him down.
Why is that?
Well, I think, first of all, if I were him, I would be livid if I got shut down. Because
for the service time aspect. Because if he finishes top 2 in the Rookie of the Year, he essentially gets an extra, or that 1 year closer to free agency.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Is that
what is this? If you win something, you get.
So if you finish top 2 in the Rookie of the Year contest, then your free agency gets pushed up 1 more year. So the team actually has 1 less year of control of you.
So instead of 5 years, they have 4, right?
Yeah.
So he gets more money when he's free agent.
He would, because
he gets more money sooner.
Yeah.
right. So I guess from the team perspective, for control reasons, well, for control reasons, they would want to shut him down so that he doesn't finish top 2. But I think it's all but a foregone conclusion.
I think so too. Right. Even if they shut him down, he's probably still going to get finished in the top 2.
What about
He probably won't win it, but he'll get
health benefits?
Who cares? You only have control of this guy for 4 years.
Yo, relax. We are trying to maintain a future Yankee right now, okay? If he needs to be shut down
Why are you
because
getting loud?
of future arm injuries, we got to shut him
Connor
down.
has a point.
Look, he's the one to yell at you so you
protect his
can't
investment.
respond.
Right.
He's just going to scream at you.
Yeah.
Sure, the rest of the league might want to keep him healthy. We don't give a fuck. He's not going to be a Pirate 5 years from now.
We want to keep him healthy now.
Well,
we want to keep him healthy.
you have 4 years for a guy who's 24 years old.
You just need a couple more
bats.
bats.
Yeah.
Matt. Just a couple more bats.
What's the benefit of keeping him going just so next year he can go longer? Or is that
I don't really see much. I don't see much along the lines of downside. I think that there's been a lot of unproven data that you can mitigate arm injuries.
Yeah.
I think Strasburg is the perfect example where it's not you can look at him and just be overuse. That's why he tore his ulnar nerve 16 fucking times in a career.
Yeah.
And then you look at a guy like Nolan Ryan, who probably threw tens of thousands of more pitches than Strasburg and, was just fine into his mid 40s.
Is it just genetics or mechanics?
Probably a lot of everything. The game's changed a lot, but it's ironic because pitchers are throwing harder the more technology we gain in order to learn how to throw more perfectly. I remember when I was in college, everybody modeled themselves after Mark Pryor. So we would watch tape. He was thought to have the perfect mechanics. But now, he was throwing 97, 98 back then, one of the hardest throwers in the league. Now he's probably just an afterthought. You know what I mean? There's so much that can be done with arm angle and stride, and genetically it's probably all going to vary based off of what attributes you have, if you have long legs, if you have short legs, if you have all this stuff. But the thing that it just perplexes me is I know that there's a shortage of good starting pitching, and that creates fear for these teams to where they want to try to mitigate injury and health risk.
But like the thing is, I don't understand the benefit, I guess, of keeping, like, not shutting him down this year. Like, what is the benefit as opposed to like I mean,
I guess like partly
him getting injured or whatever, because they're completely out of it. Like they're not.
Yeah.
They're out of it. They're not going to make the playoffs.
Them not shutting him down.
Right. I just don't. I don't know what the
ridiculous.
benefit of, like, if like you're looking towards 2025 and is.
But by that notion, you should shut down everybody who's reasonably good.
No, I'm just talking about from the Pirates' perspective. Like, you're looking toward 2028 when you have that or 2029 when that option comes on for Skeens.
Why?
We always have.
Because if he doesn't get top 2 in the whatchamacallit, you get to keep him for next year.
He's probably going to. I mean, maybe
get
if they literally shut him down right now and he didn't play the rest of the season, he might fall out of the
now he's number
top 2.
Right now he's number 2.
He's number 1.
He's number 2 right now. The odds just changed in Whit Merrifield, whatever his name is, from San Diego Padres.
He passed him.
Yes.
Wow. I mean,
somebody had literally bought a
crazy.
ticket 6 days ago where it said that basically
It's probably just because of the expectation that Skeens will get shut down, not because of performance.
Maybe, yeah.
Right.
He's talking about betting odds, not the actual.
For sure. That's right.
Of course.
Exactly.
Of course.
Yeah. If Skeens plays the rest of the year, I can't imagine him not winning Rookie of the Year. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I know.
I agree with Brian.
Yeah.
Quick question: what is the what's the 6-inning thing that they're thinking about implementing?
This is never going to pass.
It'll never happen. I don't think. Yeah.
Well, what's the reason for them that they would want to do that?
That's a great question, actually.
I think it's, so what we're talking about is the MLB is kicking around the idea of a rule of your starting pitcher has to go 6 innings, which is just craziness.
Has to go 6 innings?
Yeah, like has to go 6 innings.
So if they start teeing off on him like the first 2 or 3 innings, like
right, like you just have to keep him in there.
I was thinking the opposite.
Right. It's another reason to like protect the pitcher from getting injured, and it sounds counterintuitive, but it's because now the main pitchers that are really getting injured are these relief pitchers who are told to come in and just give it your all for one or 2 innings and just throw crazy spins and throw in as hard as you possibly can.
I don't think that was the impetus behind it. I think that they were hopeful that if you had to last 6 innings, then you would scale back on your velocity.
Right. Well, there was another part of that too. Is also, they want balls in play, right? And the thing is they want more action. Right. They want.
If they're slowing the pitcher down, then that means there's going to be more.
When a pitcher
action on the field,
when a batter sees a pitcher for the 2nd or 3rd time, they tend to adjust and they have a better chance of getting a hit.
It would be like making a soccer goal 3 feet wider or something.
Yeah. John Boy, I think he proposed, or I don't know if it was him, or he heard it from somebody else, was saying that like that rule will probably never be put in place. But what maybe a balance to that would be, they have to go 6 innings, but if you pull them, then you lose your DH. Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So like that.
Ephraim said that there's a lot of caveats. He said it's 6 innings minimum, or 100 pitches thrown, or if you give up 4 more runs, as well as
right. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of different like caveats and different like ideas being thrown around, and I don't know if they'll ever implement anything, but maybe. I mean, they're always trying to make the game safer and more enjoyable and more action in the game. So that's why they're throwing around these ideas.
That number 2 or now number 1 is Jackson Merrill.
Jackson Merrill,
not Whit Merrifield.
No, I know. Yeah, Jackson Merrill. He's ridiculous. He is really good.
He's the only reason why.
If Skeens wasn't in there right now,
the Padres are fucking good.
Padres are good.
Padres are good top to bottom.
Ooh, I saw a really good fight at a Padres game.
Oh yeah.
I saw it too.
Dude
was just
so good.
He was dodging a lot of the punches for a while.
Yeah,
and then he got
you could tell the guy on the bottom knew what he was doing just by the way he was throwing his punches.
I don't know, man.
I think we might be talking about 2 different.
I didn't watch the whole video, but like,
not only that, he gave up the high ground. Like the guy can throw.
Well, yeah, he was probably drunk.
No, I think the guy up top was drunk. The guy on the bottom was definitely more sober.
He was locked in.
You know what? We might have saw 2 different fights at the Padres game.
I saw.
There was one I thought it was the Padres fighting
on
a
it.
Dodgers fan at Dodger Stadium. Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of something different.
Maybe I don't know. I saw this like a day or 2 ago, and
Yeah, I saw it yesterday.
what I saw was
Oh yeah. Okay.
a guy like 1 row up. He might have been shirtless, just ducking and weaving.
Wife beater.
As the guy below him is just like constantly throwing haymakers. But maybe I didn't watch it to completion. I never saw them actually land a punch. either way.
No. The guy on the bottom pieces
here we
him
go.
up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I saw.
Like at first he dodges the first couple.
This is where I turned it off. Once he started licking his lips, that's where I turned it off.
How could you turn
But he
it
just
off?
kept talking shit, which is like,
Yeah,
bro,
he's
you're
an
getting
idiot.
pieced up. Like, just stop.
Well, the thing is,
He hasn't thrown a
he's
punch.
trusting his defense here, which is only good until it's not. You know, you got to counter.
The guy's throwing fucking.
You gotta
hooks. He's
counter,
throwing
my
You
guy.
gotta throw a punch.
jabs.
You gotta counter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
The crazy
Oh,
part
no.
is after he lost conscious, he started throwing a punch.
He's still talking shit.
Like after he started getting wobbly, that's when he started throwing punches.
Man,
Yeah, no bueno.
his girl's nice.
Chill, Grandpa.
Got to fight for that honor, you know.
I am the man who will fight.
I almost went there, B. Sorry.
Thanks.
Sorry, buddy. You got.
I'll be the hero that you're dreaming
There's
of.
no bringing it back.
Karate Kid Part 2, baby. There we go. There we go.
I don't even know what that's from.
Glory of Love.
It's 80s.
Yeah.
Actually, is it the 80s?
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
oh,
would
yeah.
know better
Late
than I would.
80s.
Yeah, that was Karate Kid Part 2.
All right, let's.
Help me.
We've gone on long enough. All right, we have a fun show today. A lot to talk about from what's happening. I guess I hate to just like lump it into the online world, but this is largely going to affect online. Both with the current announcement in Michigan as well as the bigger discussion that we're going to have on late entry or late registration to MTTs. Got a lot of opinions, I think, to share on that one. But first, Nick Jones put out a tweet today, and he said, "This is the biggest story I've written in a while. This is real money online poker. This is DraftKings. This is Michigan. Expect more states to come." And this is interesting to me because I have a lot of friends who work at DraftKings, a couple that are pretty high up, and they've been in beta for their poker, as far as I understand, since like 2022, maybe even earlier. I'm trying to put the timeline. Yeah, it might have been like late 2021 was when I first heard of it. And I was actually just maybe a week ago or so, I was having a back and forth with one of the members of our Discord community as far as like what the legalities are for entering markets like Michigan, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, etc. And I think what we ultimately arrived at is Nevada is clearly the most difficult to get involved with because of gaming licenses as well as the casino existence. So DraftKings has a headquarters here, but they can't operate here, which I think was also possibly preventing them from launching poker, but maybe not if they were capable of linking up with a brick and mortar casino. In Michigan, though, I think that it's all tribal, or at least it's partly tribal. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but DraftKings does operate there already as a sportsbook and casino. And it looks like they launched a true player versus player online poker game called Electric Poker in Michigan. And the article says it could go down as one of the most important developments in U.S. online poker history in the last decade. So I think what this is implying anyway is that DraftKings has the ability to do what these poker sites don't, which is get into unregulated states currently.
How are they bypassing? Sorry, did you already say?
No. And I'm not really sure of the nuts and bolts of it all, to be honest, so I don't really want to speculate too much, but they already exist as a betting house in most of these states.
Yeah, they're
So they
probably
kind of
already-
just add it right to their platform that already exists in the other state. now instead of like you have.
I assume it falls under similar law.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously not entirely
So
sure.
if you can do DFS in the state, you can also do poker.
Right. So
And would the pools be all combined? Do
no,
we
I
know
don't
that
think
yet?
so.
It'll also be segregated.
At least to begin with, I would imagine it's segregated,
Yeah.
but I'm honestly not sure. Honestly, like even this launch is just very minimal. So it's basically their version of a spin and go.
Yeah.
It's just 3-handed sit and go winner take all tournament. I don't know if they're going to be at. Oh, it does say random prizes will be chosen at the start. Electric mode forces an all in after 3 to 6 blind levels. So yeah, it's basically the exact same as Blast, spin and goes, things of that sort.
So no cash games. It just sounds like.
It sounds like this is
sit and
the
goes.
only. Yeah, this is the only version that they're which is actually really smart, right? Because they're not trying to be a poker platform, at least not initially.
Well, their market is are gambling anyway.
Exactly.
So it's more of a gamble.
Exactly.
versus-
It's very fast. It's very much. It's weird because like that format hasn't really taken off on actual poker platforms. Like people play them, and there's a lot of strategy out there for them, and I think people are able to like really good pros are able to kind of get a small win rate over time. But the majority of players kind of just stay away. They recognize that it's a high rate gamble, whatever. But when you're appealing to a casino pool, this is a really safe way to introduce poker because it's fast. It's a lot of variance. There's the multiplier aspect or the gamble for the prize pool, so to speak. And you don't really have to be that good to win some of the time, basically.
I would hope that like if this does not take off exactly, it doesn't deter them from furthering into poker.
Right.
Because like they might not take off exactly. Who knows? Like it's just whatever spinning goes. But it's actually huge because they're in 25 states for sports betting. So that means they'll probably have full access for whatever in those states. And they're in like another 44 total for fantasy sports.
So and you may not have the answer to this, but I'm just gonna like throw the question out there.
Yeah.
What is the difference if we can even possibly speculate or look this up? What's the difference between their license for sports betting versus fantasy? Because the fantasy pools are for sure
Skill based, maybe.
No.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. The fantasy
intertwined.
pools are all shared liquidity.
Yeah, they're
Right. So
intertwined.
like when you play a daily fantasy, you're not segregated to
your state.
Right. You get to play a part of a national pool.
Yeah.
Sports betting, obviously, it doesn't matter
Right.
because it's just you versus the house.
Right.
Same thing with the casino aspect of it. I'm just wondering if, like, for the 19 states that allow fantasy but not sports betting,
Yeah.
does that fall under a different license? And if so, is that license also open to accepting online poker? I think that would be like an interesting
That's what I meant.
question to answer.
That's why I think they think they.
Well, poker's
like-
already been ruled as not skill based.
I know, but fantasy sports
Correct.
has,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that's why.
In some
right?
states,
So
I
the
think.
license maybe is different because this is a gambling license. This is a license for a skill based.
How'd
game.
that happen?
I believe it was New York that set the precedent, if I'm not mistaken.
And that's funny because New York still doesn't have any online sites.
No, but they have daily, right? They have
you're
FanDuel.
talking about- yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, they have those. I thought we were talking about poker for a minute. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an interesting development too because like I'll be curious to hear or to see, I guess, what FanDuel's response is because let's not forget that FanDuel is owned by the same company that owns Stars, Flutter. So they both fall under the same umbrella. There's a clear crossover opportunity there, depending on how this builds out and could potentially scale. Reading the article here by Nick, he said, what does this mean for U.S. online poker? Looks like this is the first step in what could be a major push by the operator into U.S. online poker. It seems like the operator will bring the game to other states, and it will expand it will also expand its poker offerings. In other words, it's going to start to offer different variations of poker.
So I'm sorry. My quick thought would be for the online casino for DraftKings online casinos that are allowed in those states. There's only 5 of them. One being Michigan. So I'm not sure how much promise there really is to get these outside of those 5 states. because
What other 5 states?
it's Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey,
Mhm.
Pennsylvania, and West Virginia.
Okay, so all of those states already are definitely
In on poker.
in on poker,
Yes.
except for Connecticut. That's the only one we're unsure of.
Yes.
But yeah, West Virginia's approved, Michigan's approved, Pennsylvania's approved, New Jersey's approved. So I think you're probably right that that's very likely where this will go. Nick says this could just be a trial, and if the trial fails, electric poker might disappear as quickly as it came. But the level of investment from DraftKings suggests a long-term outlook. It's built its own poker platform, launched a learning center, built a fully fledged online poker app into its software. This is not a quick bolt-on of third-party platform, which is basically what WSOP was when it launched. DraftKings is active with its online casino in every U.S. online poker state except for Nevada, which means that it could potentially combine electric poker liquidity between New Jersey, Michigan, via the MSIGA, and then Connecticut and West Virginia could also be in play. So yeah, I mean,
Okay, yeah.
it's interesting because it's like, it feels like it moves the needle, but it may not. It may just be another player in already regulated states.
Yeah, it seems like after looking at it, it seems like an added player because
Right.
there's not. I mean, there's possibilities. If anybody can do it, it's probably DraftKings at the moment because they have they're in every other state for other things, so they probably could. I mean, pushed for poker to be whatever in 25 of these states at the bare minimum. that
Well, I
allow
guess
the
what I'm
sports
getting at
betting.
is I don't think it matters much at all. I don't think it matters at all if DraftKings becomes an option for poker in already regulated states. I don't think that does anything, personally.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, I think that maybe if it drives them to push for the 25 others that they have sports betting allowed in.
So that's
basically.
where I think it could potentially be a big deal.
Yes, because they're a huge player in the game.
Well, most importantly, they have a lot of money to lobby,
Exactly.
right? So if you combine that with WSOP lobbying, with Stars and Flutter lobbying, and all these other places, I think the more money that goes into lobbying, the more likely these states are to come on board.
Mm-hmm.
In California, DFS is legal, right?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
That's what I think this ultimately comes down to is if DraftKings becomes a player in these already regulated sites, can they find a way to dovetail the ruling for daily fantasy being a skill-based game into poker?
So I have another question that kind of piggybacks. It's not really. California isn't in online poker because of shared liquidity, correct? For the most part?
My understanding is that there's hurdles around regulation.
Okay.
Basically what's it called? Who's running the gambling there?
Like
The tribes.
Native
Yeah,
American.
the tribes. Yes, sorry. Brain fart. Basically, the tribes are blocking,
Okay.
so they won't provide their own layer of regulation. And my understanding was that if they came on board with an already regulated state like Nevada, we have NVG,
Okay.
if they combine with that pool, again, I'm not sharp on this. This is just conversations I've had that I think is accurate. If they came on board with NVG and accepted their oversight from a gaming perspective, then they could bypass the tribes in some regard. But they don't want to do that because then it requires shared liquidity, which means that there's going to be a massive imbalance of California money transferring to Nevada.
Okay.
And they lose out on all that state tax.
So now, all right.
And I think PA is similar in the sense that they don't want any of the money leaving PA. Not in the sense of regulation. Obviously, they have their own.
Well, this goes on to my question. DraftKings operates in all these states. So how did this shared liquidity work there? Because if they're operating in X amount of states,
Because it's not under gaming, I don't think. That's when they got the ruling of it being a skill-based game. I don't think that the local gaming oversee. I could be wrong about that though. That doesn't seem correct.
yeah, I find it interesting because I've always heard about shared liquidity not being an issue for the California getting on board with anything, and
Right.
then DraftKings has shared liquidity somehow with whatever all these other
So
states.
on DraftKings, when you make a wager, you're betting against other people, not just in your state, but in other states.
Well, we're
as
talking about
No, well, it
fantasy.
depends.
We're talking about fantasy sports for the most part. here.
DFS and sportsbook are two totally different entities.
Yeah.
Right. Sportsbook, it doesn't matter. You're just betting against the house.
You're playing the house, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good question, Conrad. I'm not sure what the difference is.
Yeah.
My instinct says that it has something to do with the skill based ruling,
Mm-hmm.
but I truly don't know.
Right.
But you're right. Like there was never. Maybe it's because it was never made to be illegal, right? Like the way poker was, where we had to come back in one at a time and then convince each other to like it. No, because it's still happening at the state level. I was gonna say maybe because it's more federal, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's still happening at the state level. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting though, because I think the more that poker can attach itself to DFS, the easier of a time it becomes of getting into more of these states.
Because it seems more skill based than DFS on the, the surface.
It also just becomes
Or
like
in general.
It becomes such a huge snowball effect too, because really the thing that's like holding up the dam from breaking in the United States is like 3 or 4 major players, right? Like there's the reason why like Illinois, or not the reason, but like one of the reasons why like Illinois or Nebraska or Oklahoma or these other, like, for lack of a better term, flyover states aren't really involved in shared liquidity talks or launching poker or anything, is because they truly just like don't matter. So like nobody's using lobbying dollars to get like fucking Ohio on board. Right? They're focusing all their attention on the major players like New York, Texas, Florida, California.
Well, it's smart, because once they come, everybody
exactly
else
the
comes.
snowball effect will happen,
It
and
doesn't really
everybody.
matter.
Yeah, it'll just become, largely a coast to coast thing, similar to like DFS. But I don't know. It's news. It's not. It could be big news. We don't know.
Stay
tuned.
Could be nothing.
It's all about if they want to throw money at poker. If they want to throw money
No,
at
no, no,
poker,
they're
it's
throwing money at
fucking
poker.
It's fucking huge.
No, they
In a
are
way.
throwing money at poker. They've been throwing money at poker. That's not the issue. Your hat is fucking me up.
Why is it fucked up?
I mean,
I have to see.
can we get a close up here?
Oh my god!
Can we get a close up here for him?
Wow, what's
What's
going
wrong with
on
that?
here?
Looks great.
I
It's
didn't see that
fucking
this whole time.
inside out. His thing's all twisted up.
I thought maybe having the tag out was like a thing the cool kids were doing. or
No,
something.
It wasn't even just
it
like-
wasn't. Thanks for telling me.
It wasn't even just the tag out, like the actual brim or not the brim, but the snap. It was
Like
was
Yeah,
twisted
it
up.
kind of felt weird. I kept trying to touch it. I didn't really feel anything, and it was like whatever.
It
kept
goes.
going with
It completes the Conrad look,
Nah.
the disheveled.
I'm gonna have to give Connie a confidence monitor.
Yeah. Wow.
It's got one right there.
I don't look at it.
We know.
What do I need to look at it for?
We know, buddy.
You guys thought I need confidence?
We've all been here for the intro. We know that you don't look at shit. All right, let's talk about the bigger conversation for today, which is the notion of re-entry, where it began, where it's at now, and how we all feel about it.
Is this different than rebuy?
Yeah, sorry, not re-entry, late reg.
Late Reg, yeah.
Re-entry kind of goes hand in hand.
So
but-
before we even
Yes.
get into it, does this include re-entry? Like, is he trying to get rid of re-entry in this article?
No, he's not trying to get rid of anything.
Just late reg.
Well, no. So the article that Conrad's referring to is by
David Lappin.
David Lappin, yeah. And it's not an article meant to get rid of anything, but more so correct the system that we have at play. And I think both need tweaking for what it's worth. But I think, well, let me ask you guys, what do you think is more detrimental to the overall MTT economy? Unlimited reentry or extremely long late registration periods?
Which is worse?
Yeah, which hurts the break even reg more?
Probably unlimited reentry.
I was
Really?
I think so. Because if
Oh.
people that are really good at poker
I
get
was
to
thinking
keep
the-
playing,
I was thinking
agree
the
with you, actually.
opposite, because people that are really good at poker get to be in with less players in the field.
And just spin it up.
Well, it kind of
Yeah.
goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
But
this is why freeze outs are so good.
yeah, that's kind of the question, right? If they're very good, but freeze outs are particularly
They're also
ripe.
good to max.
Yeah, they're particularly ripe for the picking when it comes to late registration, because oftentimes freeze outs don't correct the late reg structure. Like, it'll just be the same as if it were a reentry event, maybe 6 hours, maybe 8 hours, whatever. And now you're coming in with like 22% of the field instead of 33% of the field, which you'd see more commonly with a reentry. I think that they go hand in hand. My instinct initially was the late or the lengthy reentry period, but I think you're right. Not reentry period, the late reg.
Late reg.
But I think you're right, because it's about the number of times a good player is in there. Like, they just don't go away.
Like if someone keeps buying in like in a 1K and their ROI is perceived to be 50%, but they get to fire 4 bullets, like they're making a lot of money.
Well, I was thinking of it from the sense of, yes, you're correct, by the way. I was thinking of it from the sense of, if one stayed and the other one went away, which one is more detrimental? And I think
the thing is that if late reg goes away, then you can't have reentry.
it goes away in the sense of becomes a better structure,
like
a
less,
2 hour late.
So
reg
I mean, I
period.
think the main crux of the article was that the late registration has become so long, and it's allowing players to to late reg like so deep into the tournament that it's really detrimental to the players that start from the beginning, and those are largely recreational players that want to play and don't care, or not thinking about, oh, I can raise my EV in this tournament by late regging. I came here to play. It's my only tournament.
Well, to be clear, I think it's a little bit misconveyed. He titled it as a plus EV hack,
right,
when he's talking about registering late. It's not really your EV. Well, I don't even know like what we're calling EV in this instance, right? Because EV is not the right way to think about buying into an event. It's
like the hourly.
It's either your hourly or your ROI. There's two, and they're two separate measurements.
Like your ROI is lower when you max, but your hourly is higher.
Correct. And like, maybe I guess we could lump the average of the two into calling like what your EV on that bullet is.
So by default, it would be worse if people could re-enter as many times as they wanted.
Are you taking EV away from players who registered from the beginning? If you max late reg,
yes, because you're closer to the money.
Then it has to be plus EV.
No.
The EV has to go somewhere, right?
Yeah. You are taking.
Get money when people bust the tournament and don't re-enter, because now you're one step closer to making the money. Right.
Yeah. Basically, what's happening for the layperson is when you're able to register extremely late into an event, say 60+% of the field is gone, you're now buying a starting stack that is worth more in ICM dollars than it was at the beginning of the event, right? And that's a real problem for organizers to try to juggle, because here's the thing, like, you can have a lengthy reentry period like this, but then you have to slow the structure way down. Like, registering day 2 of the main event doesn't really gain you much.
No. You're so far away from the money.
Right. Well,
yeah, you are.
Yeah,
you are.
What made day 2 about 66% of the field?
Of the
maybe
main?
a little more.
Yeah.
A third of the field doesn't bust on day 1.
Yeah, maybe
It's probably like a
maybe a quarter of the field.
Okay, so like 70. Yeah.
30%.
So you don't gain too much.
Yeah. And maxing gets worse the more people do it. If you're like the only person that max late registers a tournament,
you gain the most.
You gain the most. So if 100 people swarm in a 200-man field, like, you're not making that much.
Right. Yes.
But it really hurts the people that started in the beginning.
It's still always
if 200 people late reg, it's going to hurt the person who started at the beginning way more than if just one person late regged.
Kind of. I mean, it essentially.
I mean, help me understand this, but the prize pool is getting bigger. Why is this a bad thing?
So that's the thing. It's a give and take, right? Because it's like you want to protect the recreational players or the players that want to play from the beginning, but also those players want the prize pool to be really, really big. Well, and if you take away the late reg and the reentry period, like then it's going to reduce the prize pool.
To Guapo's point, I think what Guapo's bigger point is that if there's a big influx of people who come into the event, the people who played from the beginning aren't hurt nearly as much because the prize pool just went up. Right. So what their stack was previously worth is now going to be worth slightly more due to the fact, it's going to be worth less because there's more people, but more because there's more prize pool. So it might just like level itself out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I just don't know if it does level itself out.
Leveling in this is
it'll come back closer.
It's a little bit hyperbolic.
Yes.
Like I'm not sure which way it goes. It could be good for them. It could be bad for them.
Right.
But it's going to be pretty negligible either way. It's really just a question of what's not negligible is that their hourly has been harmed pretty significantly. So I do think that. I think the biggest takeaway here, not just from the article that he wrote, but also something that like pros have been speaking about for quite some period of time. And I think ACR is like the most egregious when it comes to this, and WSOP.com is like a close second.
They were saying there was like some events where you could like register with like 6 big blinds or something like
that. I think that we're to a point now where we've unlocked enough about strategy to know, like, look, late reg was amazing, and keeping it open for long periods of time was awesome when people got some level of anxiety with 15 big blinds that they just yeeted it off. Right? And that was fine because whatever they were gaining by being closest to the money, they were losing by playing bad.
Bad at strategy.
Yeah. But I think like we've unlocked enough now to understand the value of stacks. Like, there used to be conversations of like, this is a multi-flight tournament and I bagged 15 big, should I surrender my stack? And it's like now nobody would ever like even 5 blinds.
I think
most people don't even consider surrender.
I'm pretty sure Landon bagged 3.5 in a Florida 3500 main or something and didn't surrender it.
I did. I was a long time ago, but
you just kind of can't.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
You can't, because if you double,
it's worth so much, like just to be in the tournament when you
at that phase, which is kind of funny because we kind of
it was like 5 bigs.
We kind of meme about the bagging bubble because it's arbitrary, right? Like you're just making day 2, which but what's not arbitrary about it is that you're at a finite point of the event and your stack is worth a certain amount. So there is something about preservation there, but it's not actually the physical bagging process.
It's you should just not try to bust the tournament because you should not try to bust the tournament. It doesn't matter like if it's the end of the night or the beginning of the
just like the first hand the next day.
Exactly.
You have the exact same pressure that you had the day before.
Nothing has changed.
But I think that this article really just shines a light on how broken the reentry period has become. And I think that there's been a lot of talks, at least from Savage's side, about increasing the average stack for late reg. But the issue is that currently in the MTT landscape, it's becoming highly competitive. We see this with December coming up between WPT and WSOP. It's highly competitive now, slapping guarantees on things, trying to get people to travel, trying to bring in new eyeballs to your product and things of that nature. The easiest way to do that is with bolstered prize pools. The only way to do that is to allow either a lot of late registration, a lot of reentry, or a combination of both.
And it's the combination of both that really, I think, is what bolsters the prize pool, because it's not because it's like if you can leave late registration open kind of like as long as you want, but like if you want to play that tournament, you're probably going to just go play the tournament, whether it's 8 hours or 4 hour registration. Obviously, maybe there's going to be a few more people, but it's the fact that people can bust so late and then jump back in the tournament.
So, like,
is what really brings the prize pool.
The article is really just like about finding a median, right?
I think so.
So, like, 15 to 20 big blinds. Would you guys consider that like a median? Also, I have a question about Savage. First off, do you guys consider that a median, 15 to 20 big blinds?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No.
What would you say?
Like
30.
50.
Okay.
50?
That's absolutely
Yeah.
insane.
You're saying the max was 50 bigs.
Yeah.
Like that's the last you get.
Well,
Yeah.
well, 10 to 15 is basically what it is now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
what it is
that's
now.
I think that's just
Like
I think there's a massive
a lot of World Series events. Some of them it depended on the structure,
it's
but
16 and a
some
half.
16.5, some were 20, and some were like
13 and a
10.
half.
I think.
Yeah, well, it's
I
12.
think EPTs, if I recall correctly from PCA, theirs was like
It was like
30-ish.
20. Like you can max late reg the mystery bounty with 20 bigs.
I thought it was more, but
maybe
you might be right.
Maybe it might be a little more. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought I remember it being enough where
It was 30K at 1500, so
Yeah,
like 20. I think it was
exactly.
20
okay.
bigs.
Whatever it
bigs.
was, I remember it being enough that it was notable that I was like, oh, this is a pleasant change.
Yeah.
And even then, I didn't think it was anywhere near enough.
I think like if it's 20 bigs, it doesn't take too much off the prize pool. But when you get down to like 50 bigs, like that's cutting it in the third.
It doesn't have
the third, the fourth. No, you don't
I
think
mean,
so?
I don't think that there are a lot of people who register, and I could be wrong, but I don't think there are a lot of people who register in the levels between coming in with 25 blinds and coming in at max.
But like,
So you're talking about like maybe 3 levels there where you're probably not getting that many people because most of them are just going to max it anyway.
but re-entries you get though. Like people just
Same
bust,
thing.
People busting it back in.
Well, yeah, sometimes, but you know, it's kind of the same thing where it's like at some point you just make the decision that maxing is the best option.
Yeah, like I think if the tournament's a situation where you can get in max late reg, double up once, and you're basically guaranteed to cash, that's got to be too late, right?
Yeah, well, look, this has happened multiple times over the past few years with the 5K specifically, where you come in with like 18 bigs.
12 and a half. I found this is the one I final tabled. I came in with it might have been 13 and a half. It's usually 12 and a half or 13 and a half. And basically you just need to double up and
They've corrected since then because I maxed the 5K this year and I came in I think with 17 or 18 bigs.
Okay.
But still, we were 1.5 levels away from the money.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you got to play a little bit of poker, but I only need to play 90 minutes of poker before I make money on my buy-in.
Right.
And the average stack in that event isn't like, it's not the main event.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the average stack isn't like 90 bigs.
Yeah.
It's like 35 or 40.
It also probably encourages more stalling because now you have more short stacks in the tournament because there's all these people max late regging.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's just like,
yeah.
you only play 90 minutes. Well, I might as well stall, right?
Like, as
Correct, yeah.
this is a problem in live, it's way more of a problem online. Like 100x more of a problem.
Yeah. I think
it allows collusion, allows other things to be a factor.
Yeah, it's a huge problem online. But I'm less privy to speak on it because I don't know how much of that keeps the ecosystem alive.
Yeah.
Like you might just lose 30% of your player pool if you took that option away because it's the only way they're making money. You know what I mean? It's like the rake back grinders of sorts. But also, like, this is how bot rings are making money. You know, this is how basically anything. I have a hesitancy to allow a structure to do something that allows somebody to gamify it.
Yeah.
Right? Like anytime that or not gamify, to game the system. Like anytime you create a certain system where it's like, okay, well, this certain subset of people are just going to auto make money because they're willing to do the thing that the collective doesn't want to.
Right.
Stalling being one of them. But you're right. Like there's WSOP.com is a great example. I used to fire a lot of the bigger buy-in stuff, and especially during COVID, what I noticed was I didn't have better success playing from the beginning. If anything, I was just on average in for way more bullets. But if I maxed, what happened was because the actual unique entry, this is very unique to WSOP, but because the unique entries were so low, so you'll see this in high rollers a lot. The unique entries were so low and re-entries made up such a large portion of the prize pool, you could now enter max where 80% of the unique entries were still in the field, but only 35% of the actual field existed because so much of the prize pool was re-entry.
Right.
And now you're just coming in and it's like, okay, well, I have a quarter of average, but the chip leader is only 2.2x average. So it's like if I just double 3 times, I'm now the chip leader of the event with 18 people left.
Right.
And it's like, that seems pretty smart to just do all the time, and probably not even hurting your ROI that much because you got 12 blinds. And there's a very simple, executable, profitable strategy to utilize off of 12 blinds.
It might not be hurting, it might be helping your ROI.
Possibly.
You know, for some.
Oh, well, it certainly is if you talk about this, if you talk about it in terms of the tournament, right? Like if you view the tournament instead of your ABI, then sure, you're helping your ROI. If you're looking just at your ABI, though, it doesn't really matter. Like every bullet is unique.
I think what you're talking about is what made PKOs more prevalent to structures.
Yeah.
For online, at least.
Yeah.
Like you just lose so much money by entering late.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize that was competitive to late reg.
Yeah, and you don't want to fire more just because it gets worse the later you enter in the tournament.
Right. Less true about mystery bounties, though.
Mystery bounties, the closer you are to making the bounty prize pool, the better your registration is.
Right.
So maxing mysteries is sick.
Mystery. I'm
Maxing
waiting for this
mysteries
to
is
happen.
unbelievable. Like stars, PCA, like mystery, like day 2, you get 20 bigs, and on average, you cover someone or someone else maxed with the same stack as you.
Yeah.
So now you instantly get access to that prize pool.
Right. Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I think it would be interesting to see a hybrid between mystery and PKO.
Mystery PKO.
Yeah.
Like you get a bounty and then like half of it just goes onto your stack.
Yeah.
I mean, you could
like
even do
you get
something.
the $1 million bounty and then 500K goes onto your stack.
Oh my god.
Like you keep 500.
No.
Oh my God.
And then someone busts you, they get 500K and they get the pool.
That would be so
No, I wasn't even thinking of it in those terms. I was just thinking of
The mystery PKO.
I was thinking of having 3 prize pools, where you have a PKO prize pool, a mystery bounty prize pool, and then a
Right.
normal
So you just
prize
keep
pool.
the mystery bounty what you get, but you also have.
I'm basically trying to incentivize bounties from
I
start.
kind of like my way.
Yeah, but your way doesn't change anything.
I know.
Incentivize bounties from start.
It's more fun though.
Have no
wants
regular
to
prize
pay.
pool and just have PKOs and prize pools for knockout and mystery bounty.
Well, you
from
can't.
the start.
That was my initial. That was my initial instinct too, but you can't do that because. I mean, you could do that.
Yeah.
Honestly, you could do that, and it would be a very interesting event to run.
It'd be a shit show.
So you pull the $1 million
It would be a
bounty.
shit show. That's not the
Yeah,
thing.
you pull the $1 million bounty, but the only way you get to keep all of it is if you win the tournament.
You guys are speaking past each other.
Sorry.
That's not what he's saying at all.
That's what Landon was saying.
No.
Yeah, but
Right,
like,
he's talking to him.
keep
We're
up.
talking
Like,
to him.
We've moved on from my
We've
way.
moved on. What he's saying would be just play a tournament that's just a straight bounty where half the prize pool is PKO and half the prize pool is mystery bounty, which I actually find that to be really interesting, and it's viable. It wouldn't be a shit show at all. It would actually be a fun event. But what you're doing by creating that is increasing variance and flattening payout structures, right? Because the mystery bounty aspect of it drastically increases the overall luck factor because you don't. It's not like PKO where you have knowledge about what bounty it is that you're chasing, right?
Yeah.
So like Pads was kind of speaking to the fact that like, oh, when you're in a mystery bounty, you're just sometimes incentivized to be all in with any 2, right? That would still exist. But then there would also be the PKO aspect of it where there would be tangible bounties that you're chasing and protecting, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be another strategic element of it. Ultimately, though, what would come from it would be a much flatter payout scale because you're no longer playing for prize pools, right? You're kind of playing for chips all throughout the entire event.
Yeah.
And the event is meant to ruin you, right? Like Landon and I were talking about this the other day, but MTTs specifically are structured in a way such that they test the gambler's ruin theory, which is that if you continually up the stakes without ever de-risking, you will always go broke. Well, that's exactly what an MTT is.
Yeah.
You know, everybody goes broke except for one. Because you have such little access, like you can't knock out that many people from start to finish. So since you have such little access to both prize pools, what would ultimately happen is it would become very flat. So if we saw something like $1 million guaranteed event where half of it was PKO, half of it was mystery bounty.
Yeah.
Instead of first being like 140K, you might see something like the winner taking home on average half of that, like 75K,
Because
80K.
money would be spread out other places.
Well, yeah, because people are getting paid from the jump.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So like outside of the very first person who busts the event, everybody has access to both prize pools immediately.
Do we think it's more likely that we see players that do not win the event make more money?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like
I think look, from a health standpoint of the ecosystem of MTTs, I think it would be a very welcome. It would be akin to paying like 35 or 40% of the field.
Yeah.
Right, and the payouts being relatively flat. So I think like from an economic standpoint, it would be very good for the MTT pool. I think I'm speaking from an operator standpoint though, because what ultimately happens is you're regressing everybody close to zero.
Yeah.
Right? There just won't be a lot of money to make now in MTTs because there is no boom or bust. So skill can only be realized to a certain degree. Like you're not overly compensated for winning the event and unlocking that whole portion of the prize pool as opposed to, you know, getting ninth and still unlocking just slightly less.
Yeah.
And also like if this were to occur, the rake factor would have to go way down. And operators have no incentive to do that, right? So like it's a give and take. If operators wanted a more long-term customers, this is a great structure. But they have to eat the cost up front because they have to reduce rake by like maybe 30% in order for people to just not eventually go broke to just getting raked to death because there isn't a lot of money to be making.
Yeah, because you'll be paying a 40%.
You don't have huge losers, you don't have huge winners any longer. You just have everybody in the middle, and what you're doing is you're just slowly raking them.
Yep.
So you just reduce that rake in order to keep them coming, and eventually the house gets it all.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
But for all those reasons, as players, you probably don't want that.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound great at all.
It'd be cool to make the main event a PKO, though. Now we're talking. All right, we're getting off on a tangent. Anyway,
So late reg.
to kind of wrap this up, I'm of the mind that the best way to combat both the re-entry and late reg problem is to just reduce both, and the easiest way to reduce both is to cap the re-entry period or the late reg period.
It's harder to be in for 5 when you only have like one break to dust it.
But this will obviously significantly reduce the prize pools and
It doesn't have to. You can run more flights.
That's true. You could run more flights.
Right.
You'd almost have to run more flights. But if you run more flights, then it's... Yeah, no, that's fine. I think you're obviously going to still have the problem of what re-entry is, where you're going to have all the better players at the end
It's not
because
worth
of
as
the more
much,
flights.
though.
But
This is cutting the operators off of money, though.
No, it's not.
Right?
No, they get the rake every fucking time. What do they care if it's a second flight or a different event?
I guess.
I haven't really, maybe I haven't put a ton of thought into this.
I think it's going to cost them more because they're going to run a whole nother flight instead of just people giving them money and busting immediately and
then
leaving.
and then doing another
Right.
one and another one.
Yeah. So
Well,
like,
no, my point.
it's cheaper for them.
My point is that they would still be running something anyway.
Yes, but they're just able to get more events in like this.
So then you have less events.
Yeah.
You'd have less events.
Yeah.
To play.
Of course.
But the price. I mean. Yeah, there's good. Listen, there has to be a give and take.
Yeah.
There has to be.
I'm just saying from the operator side, I don't think it harms their bottom line at all. Right? It could potentially like sour players' experience where they're just like, because certain players, especially the ones that you want in events, are going to think like, oh man, I fired 10 bullets into this one single event and I didn't do anything, as opposed to I fired 10 bullets in 10 different events.
But like if they're like, you basically saying like instead of the WSOP running 100 bracelet events, they run 50 with twice as many flights for each one.
Yeah.
And half the late reg time.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, this would be a big problem for WSOP because of what a mess late reg tables are to begin with, right? A lot of the long window for late reg, especially at the WSOP, is just to help them get people sat, like for big fields, especially. If you limited the Colossus re-entry to like 3 hours, they're fucked. They're gonna have a line that's 1,000 deep, right?
Yeah, because everyone's gonna a lot of people are gonna want a late reg, and they're
gonna want a late reg. Or there's gonna be people who are also busting,
and there's a ton of people that haven't busted yet because.
And that's the other thing is if you're getting people in with an average big blind of 50, people just aren't busting the event.
Right.
You'd
almost have to leave tables empty and then randomly fill them in.
Right, but that doesn't.
You have to be moving people. It
would
be a nightmare.
But even doing that doesn't alleviate the problem because if you're leaving tables empty, those are just tables that could have been filled by people who wanted to play anyway.
Right.
Right. No matter what, if you have a queue, the issue is space.
Right.
It's always just going to be space and seats, and they had this problem occur a few times, like the Homecoming and some of these other ones, where the first, because they start with really deep stacks, the first 6 to 10 levels, a lot of people just don't bust, and the ones that do hop right back in the line.
Yeah.
So you already have this wave of people who weren't able to get seats because there were none, and that line is just increasing as people bust and get back in it. You know what I mean? So it's tricky. The easiest way to eliminate this is no shit. For WSOP, the easiest way to do this is any big field event like this, run day one online.
Yeah.
Or at least give an option for
Hey
it.
man,
Berkey's
GG bought them.
That's Berkey's favorite answer. Run day one online.
It's just so practical.
Of course.
It's so pragmatic, It's like...
You get to run in 4 different states.
Yeah,
It's just great.
There's just... we have to start to innovate in this space.
I think
we just have
the
to.
fear to a degree would be the AI cheating stuff that could happen day one.
But you're wrapping day one, you're bagging day one with half the field left. Sure. Some things may happen.
But some things will happen.
Yeah, fine. But how much money could it possibly be worth to RTA day one with 50% of the field left when it's over?
And we're talking about 300s too. Smaller buying events.
Well, see, here's the thing, Burke. When you
I think it's just
when you're talking
the
about these huge fields.
Yeah.
Day one, they play down to 5% of the field, or 10% max of the field. So it's not 50% of the field's gonna be left. So day one there is a lot of EV.
But that's because they're housing everybody in person.
They need people to leave the tournament area.
Yeah, they need those tables. If you no longer need that physical space, you can play down to whatever.
Resources are
you
important.
need it the next day.
Right.
You'd still need it the next day.
Right, but if the field is in half, that's plenty. You can obviously handle that.
Well, I think what would probably happen, I would imagine, is that you make the money online. And then you play day two from after.
Yeah.
But once again, the RTA stuff, that's going to be worth a lot. It's going to put some people off of it.
15% of the... Yeah, you play down...
There's a lot of fear in the sense of, really good players can just be cheating me and then have a lot in this tournament on day two live.
But I do think a lot of it's FUD. Yes, there's nefarious action or activity taking place online. I think that the regulated sites are the lesser ones.
There's also nefarious activity live.
Yeah.
Card marking, stuff like this.
But again, the cheating that occurs live is 1 in 10,000. And maybe that number is 1 in 1,000 online. But again, in a regulated site, you have to have a lot more faith in WSOP than you do in ACR. They're just overseen by so many more governing bodies that I don't know. Personally, I would just trust Stars. I would trust WSOP. I would trust Party way before I would trust somebody who doesn't have this level of scrutiny.
Something that needs to check on them.
Yeah. Look, I mean, again, it all comes down to a big marketing issue. But I thought that the bigger events that they ran online and played out live were very successful, and makes a lot of sense. And I think that at some point people are just going to become sharp to the fact that they can't win if unlimited reentry and late regging up to 15 or 20 big blinds even exists. It's too much of an uphill battle to be able to beat them without joining their game. So
get rid of it all. You show up on time or you don't play at all.
I don't like that idea.
you get 15-minute grace period.
People just need a lot of flexibility.
Yeah,
like,
no,
especially the people that you want in there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think that
the whole reason for it to start was to just give a little grace period to people.
Right.
Like, okay, like, you know what, people, they don't want to get there at 12:01 and
people got drunk though with the prize pools. It's like,
Exactly.
if we keep pushing this back further and further and further.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
There's no easy answer.
There's no easy answer, but I do think like for maybe not for the smallest buy-ins, but like for any buy-in that is controllable from a space aspect, I think it needs to be reduced to where you have an average stack of like 40 or 50 bigs.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, because like what that's going to immediately indicate is that 75+% of the field is still left.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just opt out of half the tournament.
Right.
You know, that it just doesn't, because the alternative then is like, okay, if you want to keep registration open for 8 hours, then day one has to be super goddamn slow. You have to have a main event structure on day one so that nobody fucking buys.
We're talking Tortoise likes that.
Right.
Everybody starts with 1,000 big blinds.
I want the exact
2-hour
opposite.
levels.
I want the exact opposite. I want 1 hour late
bigs.
reg, turbo day ones, and then have a real fucking structure on day two.
You know what? We'll do this. Let's start the tournament with 30 big blinds. You only get 1 hour registration. How about that?
Fine by me.
All right, sounds good.
I love it. You know what, Conrad? That's the best goddamn idea.
I'll be in the cash streets, boys. Where the blinds never change.
Even better. Even better. Send them all to the fucking cash tables. All right, let's get in the muck and then get out of here.
All right, surprise, surprise. I am in the muck, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
We are playing 100 NL on WSOP.com.
Your
We're
comfort zone.
120
Your home.
effective, and we are in the big blind. The button opens, 2.5. We defend with the queen 3 of clubs. Flop is ace of clubs, 5 of clubs, 10 of spades. We will be checking 100%. Villain here decides to go 1.8 into 5.2. We certainly have an option here of just calling or raising. We decide to just call. Turn is very nice. It is the deuce of clubs. And I decide to lead for, I guess, call it 30%. And we get met with a raise. Now we're playing 100 NL, guys. You know what that means. It's just the nuts. But we can't fold. We call. Clean river is the jack of hearts.
This is so dramatic.
I love it.
It really is.
River is the jack of hearts, and we check, and we're just praying, please don't go all in, sir.
What?
Please don't go all in,
What did
sir.
you say?
And he bets 28 into 39.
We pray to different gods.
Conrad, shut up.
So the choice is
now we
between
can
fold and call?
or we can raise. It's a little weird that he's not going bigger here if he had the nuts. But listen, we're playing a bunch of tables, guys, and we decide to just call. And what does he show us?
Third nuts.
Jack 9 of clubs. So the reason I submitted this hand is obviously I think I'm leaving some money on the table, and I decided to get a little squirrely on the turn. So we'll see what the boys think.
Well, there's some things I'd like to talk about here. I think this hand is...
Be nice.
I'm not going to say anything. I think this hand is a clear indication of mental game leaks that plague these stakes, maybe even somewhat higher. And I think it's a byproduct of just fear and uncertainty. Like playing a game where you don't have perfect information just leads to constantly being fearful and uncertain of outcomes. Start to finish, I think that I might have played every single street differently. And that's not to say that you played every street bad. I don't think that's true.
I was actually okay with my just call on the flop.
It's fine.
I think it's going to be close.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can do whatever you want. You have a hand that does both things. Usually when you have a hand like this that has backdoors to both straights and the second nut flush draw, we're pretty fucking happy to raise it, because it's one of the few club combos that will give us runouts that we can barrel off on without like thinking to ourselves, oh, clubs are bad river bluffs. You know what I mean? Like, well, you know, if you can potentially have all forms of straights on the end, there aren't a lot of like turns and rivers that don't give us the ability to barrel. But that aside, check call is like, whatever, I'm sure this hand's going to mix. That's not really that big of a deal. The lead on the turn I find to be, I'm interested in what was driving your thought process to lead that card.
So I do this with my bluffs as well. So when I have like the king of clubs here, like when I have like my offsuit broadways, and I hold the king of clubs, also with the queen of clubs, I just do this sometimes because it just works, and I assume I can get them to fold worse.
Well, what worse?
Yeah, I knew you were going to say
sorry.
that.
You mean fold better?
As I'm saying it, I'm like,
I was
You meant fold-
going to say, what worse do you want to fold?
No, he meant fold better, I think.
I know what he meant.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking him why he said it the way he said it. Okay, so like, yeah, I don't think you ever want worse to fold. Obviously, what better hands do you think start to fold?
let's say I have the queen jack with the queen of clubs, and he decides to fold king jack.
So it has to be king jack, no club.
Sure.
Right.
That's not folding.
Yeah, it probably still doesn't fold for
Fuck
the
it,
size.
sixes.
Sixes, no suit, sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Sevens, no suit.
But like
I'm
the
just happy
equity,
I came up with an answer, but go ahead.
I mean, the equity we have against
Five,
those
six.
types of
We
hands.
fold like stone dustos, like king six of diamonds, like
Like 5-6.
jack seven of hearts. you
Right,
know?
which should be like some of these hands should be a part of his bet fold range on the turn.
Or it goes check and you bluff them later anyways.
Yeah, I think like I think that this is driven by some weird fear that like either the bet won't come through or that you won't know how to handle a bet. But my instinct is that on turn here we're probably strictly playing check call, check raise, and that's it. I don't suspect we're gonna have leads.
You ever 3-bet as played? Like just because
no.
or you just narrow his like I don't.
His raise is relatively large-ish. I mean, he's raising 75% pot. I would expect him to follow through a lot on the river, and I would much rather play check jam on river where I can get it all. If I 3-bet here, it's gonna be. I think it's tough to get all the money in the middle. But like, this takes us back to what we were talking about yesterday with Ike, when he says, you know, size doesn't really matter. All that really matters is getting your global frequencies correct, yada yada yada. But the main thing he focused on is that you get your hands worth. Like, it doesn't really matter how you get there, so long as you get your hands worth. And like queen 3 of clubs is worth playing for stacks if possible. So regardless of whatever line you take, so long as on average you're getting, like, let's say that queen 3 of clubs on average is supposed to put in 40% of its stack. Like, on average, that's how much money gets invested here with a hand like this. It doesn't matter if you do that through a check raise on the flop, on the turn, on the river. It doesn't matter if you do it through a check call, lead, call, whatever on the river. All that really matters is that you are getting enough money in the middle with a hand of this caliber, right? Like, understanding where this falls in our distribution, we literally have the second nuts and we block a potential straight flush that's out there. So we actually truly have the second nuts. Where this all goes wrong is when, so like you face this raise. By the way, like if you have a hand like queen jack, queen of clubs, and you lead and get raised, what are you doing?
If I lead and get raised,
Yeah,
and I have queen jack of clubs here,
queen jack with the queen of clubs,
queen jack with the
queen of clubs.
Yes, you said you
like
sometimes
a flush
lead
draw
there.
and a gutter.
You lead
He's looking at me like I'm an alien. Like, that hand is just so
Sorry.
insane.
Yeah. I'm just calling.
Oh, you are calling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a
I
nightmare.
have the queen of clubs.
Yeah, but it's a nightmare.
Yeah, you might not have any clean
no,
outs,
I get
right?
it. I mean, I could be drawing dead, but
But no, you're missing. No, it's not about.
Well,
No, it's definitely not a nightmare because you could be drawing dead.
it's just a lot of times you
if
just
he
like
has
It's a
end up
nightmare
on
because
showdown.
you have-
king whatever of clubs, then I'm drawing dead. Yes or no?
Guapo, yes, nuts exist in
Okay, no,
poker.
it's just
We're
I
saying
said that,
you
and
don't
guys
have
are
clean
laughing
outs.
as if I'm fucking crazy or something.
Because it doesn't matter that like he could potentially be raising the nuts, as it doesn't matter here when you have the second nuts that he could potentially be raising
the
the nuts.
monster under the bed.
The
is
reason
real.
why bet calling queen jack with the queen of clubs is a fucking nightmare is because the river bricks and you have queen high.
Right?
And then what?
I just give up.
Right.
But
So
now you're
the
giving
whole
up the
line is
pot.
broken. The whole line is broken. You accomplish nothing on the turn except for blowing up the pot and then landing on river with your nut. Like you said.
But aren't we also working under the assumption that when I lead here on the turn that they just always call or I always get raised? I mean, I get a lot of folds here as well, guys.
That doesn't matter if your entire range is inelastic to a raise.
Yeah, and a lot of the folds you're getting are hands you're already beating, probably.
Right.
Right.
If,
So that's a.
if when you bet you never fold.
Yeah, what's your bet fold?
Let's move on.
Right. Right. So you don't want to look at it through the lens of like, oh, I chose a lead here because I would also do this with bluffs. It's like, well, the bluffs that you're choosing are also so high in equity that you can't fold them to a raise.
I have a habit of doing this
I mean, it's merging.
when I'm too high up in range or whatever.
Well, it's just merging. It's a very common pitfall at these stake levels. I don't want to qualify it as these stake levels as though like, but you know, there's a stepping phase. As you get better, you start to play higher kind of thing. And you'll just see these types of errors happening in lower limits because people don't tend to learn polarization the proper way. Right? They instead learn a linear distribution of equity and they just hard cut it somewhere.
Yeah.
Like the correct bluff on the turn here is
Nothing.
Well, it's just like king, jack, no club.
Right. Where it's easy to fold to a raise.
Yeah, or like
Don't I want like wheel stuff to be doing this with like 4-5 and
4-5's too strong.
Yeah, you
like
have
2-4.
You don't want to. You don't want
showdown
to. You don't want
value.
to bet fold 4-5.
Deuce 4 checkers is a lot too.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you can still make a wheel. You can make two pair. You can make
All
straight.
right. Deuce 4, 4-5, hands like that kind of seem like they would be better bluff candidates.
No, I think
No.
your bluff candidates, like Berkey said, it's like king high, no club, where it's just like, okay, so I can bet here, and then once I get raised, it's like it's such
But
an
like,
easy fold.
What hand is that?
Right?
Like you don't want to start bluffing like king jack with no
right,
suit.
it almost feels too good too.
And you also like fold
Yeah.
the one club hands of these on flop versus bet, like king 6 off or
Maybe-
king 7
yeah.
off.
It'd be like,
So, like-
it'd be
So
like
you don't,
jack
you don't
9 of
think
spades.
4-5 and
I
deuce
think
4 and these hands
We're
too good versus
they
the
don't
button.
function well as bluffs on the turn.
You can just
No.
get there and win. You just can
Think-
make
think-
straights. You want to just
It's
realize
not-
your equity,
It's
right?
not even that. It's not even about the equity that the hand possesses to try to realize. You just want to think about it in terms of, does this hand want to put money in the pot?
You
Because
might not have any leads on this board.
you definitely don't have leads. That's not. That's. I mean, I haven't looked at
I
it,
don't
but I'm
think
very
there's
confident.
Any leads?
I'm very confident you don't have leads. The way you have to think about it is like, does this hand want to put money in the middle? Because you're completely forgetting that it can just go check check. That's such a good event for 4-5.
Mm-hmm.
It happens a lot versus the button range too.
Yeah, it's such a good thing to have happen with king high, with 4-5, with like all these hands that you might feel some level of incentive to bet.
So pair plus straight draw, probably not a good candidate to use as a bluff.
Can't be. It just can't be because it's
Okay.
like dead smack in the middle
It's
of
like
your equity.
it's not even a bluff really.
It felt intuitive, but I guess I'm just wrong.
Like you just get called by like worse stuff as well. It's like a weird merge.
Yeah.
You know, like Matt was, it's literally a merge because sometimes you get called by like king of clubs 9 by the button, right? You get called by like, sometimes they like, and maybe sometimes they fold like 6s, no
Right.
club.
And then you land on river and you actually have a bluff catcher.
And it's like, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Right. Yeah. I think like, yeah, you're also forgetting like how much nothing you're going to have. You face the small bet on the flop. You're going to have 6-7 of spades. You're going to have 6-7, 1 club. Like you're, you know, like, I mean, you're just going to have floats. You're going to have jack 9, 1 club
Also, was it a mistake by my opponent to use such a small size on this board?
on flop.
Yeah.
Can't be that bad.
Can't be that bad if he's probably just range betting, but like, yeah, there's a better strategy available.
Or you
I
just
would
plays
say
2
bigger, right?
sizes, right?
You could split.
He says 3 aces. You don't want to go like massive,
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
6-7
1
overbet.
club might be the lead hand.
No, because it probably doesn't even exist.
how much does it
Nah,
even
I'm saying,
float?
but if it did, yeah.
How much
Yeah.
does it even? But
That's
like
what I mean,
now
like,
we're
you
trying
probably
to
just
come up
don't
with
call it.
imaginary combos that like our bluffs are now the only thing that benefits, and like I do this too much, but in like the wrong way.
Turn, I feel very confident is a blunder.
Does he
but-
want to overbet flop though?
Could,
You can
yeah.
probably double wheel or ace.
I
wheel.
think less so on two-tone boards, but
probably in there a little bit. Maybe it's
yeah.
like might be like a huge strap. But anyway,
I think what's interesting on the river is like obviously we agree that the second nuts is too good of a hand to just call.
Right.
Yeah.
But
not,
like
not only
where-
that, I think
right.
what I also noticed in real time was I was thinking, I was like, please don't go all in. Please don't go all in.
But
That's wild.
When he used this
Please
size,
don't go all in.
I was
You
like,
hit the second nut.
is this really ever the nuts? Like,
Yeah.
and it
Like,
just felt shitty. Just
if he
calling.
goes all in, it's like more of a bluff. Like, right? Like he has more bluffs. I think maybe. So,
Yeah.
but
like a king of clubs and like
Yeah.
some random card.
But I think what's interesting is like, okay, where does your value stop? Where it's where you
I think
should
the
just
word
be
you're
calling.
looking for here, Brian, is the line of demarcation.
Sure. Yes, the line of demarcation.
Where would you stop check jamming?
Yeah, and like where it's a clear call, but you probably
I
shouldn't
think
be
Jack of clubs
jamming
is where
for
it starts
value
to get
anymore.
close, right?
I think specifically the jack and the 10 high flushes are tricky to jam because they also block pairs. So the big thing is that you want to get bluff caught by worse.
Yeah.
Like a set.
Right, like
So
a
if
set, like
you had,
two
like-
pair,
so
like a
like-
straight.
If you had jack high flush, you might just call, but if you had 8-9 of clubs, you might jam.
No,
No,
from there
8-9
on
is
out,
too
now
small.
8-9 becomes
8-9
too
is
weak.
Yeah,
right?
too weak.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
But like, say the board texture were different, where it was like
If the river
ace
were
2-5, 2 clubs, and then the turn is like the, I don't know, 7 of clubs, something like that, and then the river is a brick.
So it might be this hand has to shove, but anything worse has to call, which is kind of
so I'm off by a
crazy.
pip.
But yeah, like he's
Yeah, but
literally-
you're off by a pip in
the thinking-
in practice,
right.
but the thought process,
Yeah.
like you very happily could jam a jack high flush here in a lot of instances.
I think it's just line work problems because now you're funneling their range into something that you're too scared of for good reason.
Right.
Right. You're talking about their raise on the turn, right?
Yeah.
So when I decide to donk and they raise, then all of a sudden alarm bells in my head are saying he has nuts.
Like you're trying to find out where you're at while also having a hand that's good enough to put all the money in, but somehow we're aborting that mission when the more money does go in. It's not like logical.
Yeah, I mean the big thing is like when you're jamming, you just want to be able to get called by worse. He's shoving now for 75% pot. So look, I wouldn't be surprised to see the solver mix jams with jack high flush, 10 high flush, especially like the lower the sidecar.
yeah.
Like the more jack 3, 10 3 type of hands you possess, jack 4, 10 4, the more likely I think those hands are to jam.
Because it opens up all the.
They still free up a lot of bluff catchers. There's worse flushes that can call. There's still some 2-pair combos and sets and
This
things
is
of that
why
nature.
check raise flop is a very nice idea.
Also
you
true.
also get flush draws for him to continue,
And then you stack them
cooler
always.
them,
Yeah.
and you also can have bluffs in that line like your wheels.
Yeah.
And like your 5-4 with one club. If you
Yeah, I feel
Can you stop bluffing the audience and bring down your mic, please? It drives me
they can't
nuts.
see me.
it does drive me nuts too. I just never know why you wear it like a snout.
I don't mean to. I move a lot during the podcast. I was sitting up more.
It's driving me nuts every time I
You
realize.
can put it back
guys.
to the machine.
I
What is wrong with
I don't know why I see him as like a dick nose, but like that's all I see every time.
The snout.
It's like, bro.
Let's consult the wizard, yes?
Yeah, let's take a peek at the sim here. Okay, so no leads on flop, no surprise there. So when we offer a single size, he does just play 2E.
Yeah, it's a huge bet.
But it's
You mean 3E?
no 2, right?
7.7? It's just an overbet, right?
140% pot, I assume is 2E. Let's check.
Nah, it can't be.
Let's check.
Can't be.
It would be bigger. It'd be like 2x pot or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is 3. Oh okay, yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Single raise pot, 150 effective. My bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, 3.
120 effective. I don't know if that matters.
I want to give.
You could probably just
Oh
give
yeah, you're right. I'll change it in the sim now. I want to look at a 2 sizing strat just because. Not that I think people are splitting here, but I want to see what the more common. Like I want to see if this gets bet at a high frequency if we offer a smaller size.
Probably.
I would think so. Okay, yeah. So now he has quarter and 3E. Quarter obviously
That's
not
not-
used very often.
He
Interesting.
Only uses, yeah.
What a game.
What a game. All right, let's take the big size away. Oh, actually,
So my thought process on this was there's too many draws that are going to call, like the gutter balls and all that, so we can just pile.
but like watch, you'll see what happens whenever we take away the big bet. What's going to happen is that we're going to get to bet at a higher frequency. And you can see like a lot of our nothing that's like, playing check back is not that weak. Like it's a lot of showdown value that's checking back, a lot of king high, a lot of top pair. I think you'll just see that like when we reduce that to quarter, we'll just start getting immediate value for those hands. So if we look at the EV right now, for imposition, it's 3.21. If we take away the large sizing strategy, I'm going to estimate that it probably doesn't go down very much, if at all. It might be like 3.2, 3.19 maybe. 3.17. So yeah, very small EV loss here. And now look at the strategy. Look how much simpler this is to execute. It's basically, it's not a range bet, but like, you know, there's only like 2 or 3 pure check candidates. King 9, King 8, Ace Deuce suited. Those are the only 3 pure check candidates that I even remotely see. And then a hand like 7s, 9s.
I can't remember the last time I saw somebody check back Ace 10-5.
Right. But also, how often do you see them like blasting?
I've never seen anybody overbet it either.
It's just.
I mean, I like to overbet.
I
these
feel like
boards,
this
but
is just like
I also split
2016
sizes.
pile solver range back quarter. Live your life.
Yeah, I think you're kind of right.
Yeah.
Okay, so when the small bet comes
Which is
through,
why I wanna check
obviously,
raise queen 3 more.
right now, obviously, Guapo's check raise frequency is going to be a lot higher, kind of as Landon indicated. Actually, okay, this is actually a really good thing to hone in on. It's not, because the board is so unfavorable for us. So we have to remember what's driving the big bet strategy to begin with, and it's the fact that imposition can just gain so much EV immediately through the big bet line, because
Ace X has to call, 10X has to mix, draws have to
Yeah.
fold, flush draws have to call.
right, essentially, like, look, we're still folding a third of our range versus quarter. So this is why quarter is very effective, is because it just gets in massive overfold immediately, right?
Polar check raise size.
Very polar check raise size, because we have very polar hands.
You don't check raise often.
And for the same reason, this is why the big bet is preferred, because when we go for the larger size, the out of position response, like the hands that continue, are very much inelastic. Now, I think what you would see happen in practice is out of position probably doesn't overfold to the same degree as the solver does here. So you take a look at a hand like 7-6 off, you can see that it's playing a little bit of raise and a little bit of call when it has a club, but it's mostly just folding. I would think a lot of people call this hand too much, myself included.
Whoa, wait, where?
What do you mean?
These means like
Call this-
7-6 off, racing
Call
bet.
this flop bet?
Yeah.
I would disagree heavily.
I would not float this hand.
I would disagree heavily.
Okay.
You like to like play more hands.
I just think people who have like 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush understand that general heuristic of not folding versus quarter pot.
Anyways, sure. Who like it doesn't matter. Like, to a
But yeah,
degree.
like the point is that I think like the overfold probably doesn't come through at the same frequency that you would see the solver make, which allows imposition to now have stronger
well, that's why you
targets
you
to
see
shoot
a lot
at.
of overbets on turn because people get that part right.
Right.
You know, it's probably not like predicated on looking at something like this, but it's like, okay, ace high board good for me, quarter pot. Turn is like an offsuit 3. It's like that doesn't change very much. I'm just going to overbet now because you need more money from the draws and the worst ace X.
Right. Yeah.
But in reality, you should just go bigger on flop for the same reasons.
Yeah.
To
Like
go the same size on the turn.
like another example, like 7-6. Oh, okay. Never mind. Up here continues. I was to say like 7-6 of spades. I would assume like nobody's folding that type of hand.
Yeah, it's a good hand.
That's a good.
Matt, can we take a look at my exact hand?
Your hand mixes like 25%
15.
check raise, 15% check
Yeah.
raise, something. Oh yeah. You're right.
So
Queen deuce check raises
really
more.
likes a call then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a mistake to peel. Just don't fold.
Right. Yeah.
No, I get it. I was just we were debating on whether or not I should be.
But that's why king
raising
deuce,
that.
king 3 check raise more because they dominate the queen high ones and stuff too.
No flush draw is going to be a pure raise ever. Like you're never going to have a pure combo that. I shouldn't say never. Let me rephrase.
At least it's to a degree.
No non-combo draw is likely to be a pure check raise. So like you're always going to find.
Yeah, I understand that. I just wanted to know whether or not my decision to raise versus calling was better than if one was better than the other.
Right.
Yeah,
Like 3-4 of clubs, pure raise.
Yeah, low cards good, gutter
10-7
good.
of 10-7 of clubs, near pure raise. But like
Unblocking all the ones that they're going to call with.
more specifically, it's just you have so much more equity because it's a combo draw.
Yeah, pair plus is really good.
Right.
And I'm curious on like how we play this spot as big blind versus range bet instead of like mixing bets and checks.
I still think.
You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
checking back a lot of combos, but
I still think that you're probably going to play pretty polar with your response, but maybe you don't overfold any longer. Yeah. So you still have the big check
You
raise
check raise
size.
so much more though.
It's just a lot more.
Yeah. You just like
And you still do find an overfold. You're still folding almost 30%.
yeah, you just punish dude playing more check raise because they're betting too many combos that can't sustain facing a check raise.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What did you do? Change it to one size?
No,
Yeah,
just
well,
change
no
the range
check.
you bet. Change the range you bet to quarter.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
if someone's like, oh, haha, ace 10-5, I'm gonna bet small. Like,
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. But obviously, like that will drastically cost them EV. Like when we're talking about size not mattering, again, it goes back relative to the global frequency.
Yeah.
When you change the global frequency by eliminating an action, that action will cost you a fair amount of EV. And I think that's the bigger point that Ike was trying to make. It's like size however you want. Like, look, the strategy here is an overbet.
you're just gonna make money betting something
Right.
as long as you bet it an appropriate amount of the time. Like if you're just auto heaving in 3E, you're just gonna get wrecked when you get called.
Right. Exactly.
But if you play 3E in check, you're doing pretty well.
All right. Moment of truth for Guap. Does he get to play any leads here?
We don't have offsuit combos either, so it's like not as good of a turn as it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No leads.
Pure check.
No, what are you talking about?
0.1%.
That's zero in solver speak.
Hey.
Yeah. Which candidate
Straight
was
flush you can
Where's that? Find it.
You got 3
It's in
4
there
clubs,
somewhere.
Guapo?
It's queen 4 of clubs.
Oh my god, he was so
Look at that,
close.
Guap. It's so close.
Is it really?
I mean, there's
It's
the
not
tiniest
real.
little slip.
Can we please
You were
stop?
one pip off. He was one
Out
pip
of all the
off.
cards, you know.
It's not real.
Guap, so far you're 2 for 2. That's all I hear, man.
Oh man.
You guys really misunderstand what this machine does.
Oh,
Or
we're
was this
joking. We're having a good
gaslighting?
time. Can't have any fun anymore.
All right, I don't really know how to go about locking this, but I guess we can give it a try. Given that Guapo kind of gave us insight as to what he would do. Let's just take a quarter lead strategy with flushes. There we go.
Just the middle of his range.
Yeah, with flushes, with
It's probably just gonna dunk on you from in position.
let's see, offsuit.
It'd be like, oh, I've got a king of clubs.
Offsuit
Like,
one club. We'll go straight draws. Where are they at?
where they at?
Combo draws. Come on, combo draws. Why won't it let me pick
There's
combo
not that
draws?
many combo draws.
But it won't let me pick it at all.
You're assuming these
Well-
guys are playing like a machine, Connie? Is that what's going on?
No, I just
What's
think
going
Ace
on
King
here?
King of Clubs is a fun one to raise.
Yeah, obviously. I think I'd find
Good
that.
hand. Good hand to raise.
What? Why does it not let me? Oh, wait.
You have something to lock?
Oh,
You click the club button.
yeah.
No,
Take the club button off.
no, the club button to the left. You're doing everything else right. No, go back to where you were.
This?
Yes.
Click
that.
No, I don't want to click that. I want to only.
Oh, you found it. You found it. You're doing good.
Oh, I understand. Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't need to just have. I don't need to make it the offsuit combos because this does it anyway.
Yes.
All right.
Maybe. Does it do it, or does
Yeah.
it just take all of them at some frequency?
No.
No, look at the
it
offsuit
can't be-
combo draw.
there's
Look at-
no- yeah,
look
it
at the
has to be a
offsuit side.
yeah, exactly.
Combo draw.
Okay, so we'll lock Guapo to this.
Well, we'll see what's going.
Thank you, machine.
So there we go. All right, now he's leading like 20%. So crazy. You're leading a lot. Wow.
Maybe a little
In
too
a zero
much.
lead spot, I'd say that's a lot.
Oh, look at that. There's the king of clubs. It's like, well, where you going?
Okay.
Wow. I
So
was wrong.
wrong how?
Ace king just plays call.
Yeah. Ace King with the King of Clubs. This plays call.
Too likely to face a.
Yeah. I mean, there's really no reason to play raise, but kings with the king of clubs ironically plays raise.
Merge.
But it kind of makes sense. Guapo's not leading any ace X.
Always leading some in your sim. Like ace 4 off. That counts as
Oh,
a
because it
combo
was a
draw.
combo draw.
Yeah.
That's how they get you. Okay, interesting.
Anyways,
What sides did he choose?
he didn't raise the turn. Oh, he did raise the turn.
Yeah, he did raise.
75% pot. I think I did it in my head when we
He
were.
did
I bet 3. He went to
13
16.
13 into almost pot.
Yeah.
It's like 75%, right?
No, it's like pot. He bet 3 into 8.
Yeah.
And then he made it 16
Okay, so 13
into
into
14.
14.
Basically.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so the size was right.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll leave it at pot. Pot.
Just exit.
Yeah, whatever. Not gonna make a difference. Okay, so first let's take a quick look at what he's choosing to raise. Jack nine of clubs clearly in there. I think if we just look at it,
2 pair plus for value.
yeah, where? Oh, it's down here. Can't see, my mic stands in the way. You can see
snout.
So obviously, like for value, he's still raising. He's raising more sets than flushes. Now, more of his range does not represent sets, but like he's mostly raising his sets.
And it's because Guapo calls the bet a lot.
Correct.
Like with a club in his hand, plus the combo draw,
Right, like-
plus the ace 4.
Like I suspect after we see this pot size raise, Guapo is going to have a calling frequency of like 60+%.
Very high.
Yeah.
Hard to find a hand that wants to fold.
He actually might fold the ace 4.
Nah, you haven't got it, right?
Yeah, but it's like bottom of range.
But you have a club and you might win.
No. Well, if he has ace 4 with the 4 of clubs, yes, but he has other ace 4.
Yeah.
That's also a combo draw. He then is bluffing with like under pairs, which I guess is kings and jacks. Maybe that doesn't happen in practice. Third pair, so you're seeing like some, I guess like 5x.
Does Guapo have leads with a 10 and a club in his hand? Is that a combo draw?
Yeah, of course.
Right, so the kings, it's not really bluffing.
Right. That's true too. It is kind of getting value.
Yeah.
All right. So response. Oh wow, he's only continuing 45%. I'm kind of surprised by that. He's folding all of his top pair plus.
Is there a plus? Oh, like what's the plus here though? Ace 8? How is that a combo
Wait,
draw?
yeah. How did these sneak in there?
the combo of pair plus trips draw.
What did I screw up in the node lock? Oh, I let top pair sneak in there.
Yeah.
Top pair be gone. 2 pair, get out of there.
2 pair can be in.
We'll let him have sets in there. He didn't say anything about 2 pair.
You probably.
Oh yeah, like
He's definitely gonna lead.
what
maybe
what
not.
are all these? Okay.
Guapo, would you lead like ace deuce here?
To be fair, this is a very polarizing range.
I don't
It's just
think you
best
would.
and worst hands.
What's the worst?
Queen jack.
It's not a worse hand. This is a
Oh,
good
no.
hand. It's just-
Okay, good. We're back to a reasonable lead frequency now. If you're gonna have one, 7%. Now he just plays pure call, and it's because of what you said. He doesn't have folds versus raise.
Yeah.
Right. So now if we lock a similar raise range to what we saw as a response before, let's just say half the time he raises flush.
I think a valid question is how much does this matter when it comes to like time sync?
What do you mean?
Like doing all of this on like someone's own time. Like how important is doing something like this?
Probably not very.
That's what I was.
Well, like, what do you want me to just disqualify the whole in the muck segment?
No, I just mean like when it comes to like using time wisely.
Are you
Like,
trying to
line checking leads
saying
like this.
You're saying if I wanted to go study this spot,
Don't
like,
do this.
This would be a waste of time.
Probably.
You're trying.
The most important thing would be not to lead.
So the
for
biggest
reasons-
takeaway would be just don't lead the turn.
Correct.
We found out Landon's biggest takeaway from
Well,
yesterday's
you need to
pod.
know why you're not leading the turn. But yeah,
I think we've group powwowed that pre and post podcast.
right.
But I think that would be for other people. This would be very like beneficial. Like if you think about it, like if you're leading here X amount,
I'm leading here a lot, and
That's
I
a
probably
good-
shouldn't be.
you're gonna get a lot out of looking at this. So I think
Yeah,
it's,
I think it's important to know why not to lead. All right, so facing the raise now. Yeah, Guapo's just supposed to just be all in. Wait, with range because it's exactly what he said it was. It's just equitable hands. So this is what I was saying. Like, what do you do with Queen Jack with the Queen of Clubs? And you're like, oh, then I would just call. And it's like, well, that's a fucking nightmare.
The answer is to just jam
Yeah, you have, to raise.
after you.
To raise not all in,
Okay.
leaving like crumbs behind
Yeah.
to shove river. And the reason is because, like, what else can you do? The only traps that you play here are like pair plus flush draws, like 10-6 of clubs,
Everything that has equity.
6-4 of clubs, a little bit of like worse flushes, like your straight flush. Oh, no, you don't even trap that. You trap straights. It's not even trapping.
How is King 3 suited in the range?
So that's what I was asking. I was like, do you ever
It's clubs.
three? Do you ever three
No, but
bet?
there's spades too.
Yeah.
Why?
They peeled flop
But we're not leading that's not a combo draw. Just a gutter.
because I clicked got shot.
Okay.
So
I think it's a reasonable lead if you're gonna have bluffs. Something has to fucking
Yeah.
fold.
But I was asking. Remember, I said, "What do you ever like 3-bet here?"
Right. Well,
Apparently you do.
Well, when
as
you,
played.
right, but when you asked, I thought you were asking specifically about Queen 3 of clubs, not do I have a 3-bet range here?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't have a 3-bet range here because I don't have a lead range here,
Right,
and
of
like
course.
it's hard to just brain solve for all that stuff.
For sure.
All right, so if we take raise away now and eliminate it, this is going to change everything because now he gets to raise more in position because you don't 3-bet as much. Yeah, his raise frequency goes up a little bit, but okay, now we're going to play call. River is the Jack of Hearts. He's actually probably going to be forced to bet pretty tightly, I would imagine. Oh, weird. Now you get to play a bunch of leads.
I mean, yeah, his range is no
yeah,
bluffs,
I mean,
right?
That's
your
the
bluff
tricky
is
part.
like your gut shot that made a pair on the end, but you have king queen as well.
Yeah. It kind of makes sense too. Like you don't want him to check back. You have the second nuts. Like
Right. But then you fall into the trap of like, okay, so you block there and get jammed on. How is that not the nuts?
Right.
Like you, it's a self-perpetuating.
Yeah.
It's a self-perpetuating philosophy of like, I keep putting money in and he keeps re-aggressing. He has to have the nuts.
Right.
It's kind of like breaking the ace king queen game. You know what I mean? Where you don't like recognize that by having the second nuts, you don't really have a queen or a king anymore.
Right.
You basically have an ace.
Yeah.
But because there's like a joker available to your opponent, you keep playing it like it's a king.
Yeah.
And I think that's wow. He just checked range.
What?
That can't be true.
No.
Oh, that's us. Sorry. I'm like, wait a second. He has some nut hands, right? Okay, so his size is actually good with some portions of range, specifically like the one that he had. Barely even bets because he's so scared of your range. Like barely even bets.
You've literally funneled him into only having the nuts.
Right.
Or a blocker.
See?
So I would imagine when you see this, yeah, we were right. Queen high is the threshold. Queen high flushes are the threshold. For some reason, Queen 7, Queen 8, and Queen 10. I know why Queen 10 doesn't really want to, because it blocks worse flushes. I guess the 8 and the 7 do the same, because you probably are facing like a lot of 8-7 of clubs, Jack 8 of clubs, Jack 7.
It's probably because
10,
if you go
7.
back to the turn, you have to see what
Queen 3 of
flushes
clubs
are.
is just
jam,
jamming.
layup jam.
So
yeah, I was gonna say what is the
line?
how big is the mistake of just calling with Queen 3? Like how much EV do you lose?
None, because it mixes.
Well,
but it's a 90%
it's
jam.
also just a completely different strategy and what's actually going to happen when the guy in position has a flush. He's just going to put in money with worse flushes, but you have to look at the turn raise, right? Back for in position, like what does he raise? Like he's not raising every flush, right? He's raising the really good ones, and then all of the smaller ones like don't take this line.
Right.
Like you funneled him into having the king of clubs or nothing. That's why there's so many bluffs with the king of clubs.
Yeah.
Right, like he's like flatting with like 7-6 of clubs a lot. Like it's not always pure raising the turn. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's mostly true.
Like look, like
he has 8-7 of clubs. But
yeah, like half the time,
7,
right?
6 clubs.
But
Yeah.
So now, like in this line work that raises a lot, it's a lot better flushes, not than yours, but it's like king high and queen high and jack high, where the lower ones can still get wrecked by a 4 flush.
Well, remember we locked this, so who knows, right?
You can't call queen, even though it mixes a call with queen 3.
The solver's choosing the frequencies, but I'm forcing him to raise pretty much all flushes.
Is there a worse term for breaking flow?
Breaking.
What do you mean?
I was trying to be funny. I was talking about my lead on the turn.
Yeah. I mean, so this is the response to Guapo jamming. And to be fair, like he just, to Landon's point, he doesn't really have worse flushes to call with, but that's because he checks them back. I don't think anybody's raising turn with 8 high flush and then checking back river. Right?
No,
like,
God.
You're just going to go for it for sure. Any event, put the guy up. Imagine a check.
I mean, I don't know. I saw 10% just call with your hand. I think you should get the green check mark.
Yeah, I'll take the 10%. That's a small win for me, B.
He just rolled low.
That's not what any of this means. It's truly not.
You're right. I rolled it.
He's like, I know probably 90% gonna call, jam all in here, but Like I rolled the 10%er, I guess I'll just call.
I mean, the issue is like he funneled his opponent too far
Right.
to where he's now
Right.
very aware of what he's running into.
Yeah.
I just think there's an overall problem also with the way that the feedback from the sim is being dissected. Like, just because the sim gives you a frequency at which your action is okay doesn't make it okay.
Right,
It
right.
didn't. You gave it lead.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
we can manufacture this to prove anything that you do
You
correct.
can do whatever
Right.
you want
right?
nowadays.
But it's like once you broke anything that was like reasonable from a theory perspective, and now you force the sim to do something, like, sure, it's going to mix frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
So like everything thereafter, you're going to be able to justify to some degree, but it doesn't matter because you've already sacrificed so much EV by entering a node that doesn't exist, that everything that you're looking for validation thereafter is just kind of like cope, you know?
I do think to a degree, like the small lead, because I'm sure this isn't the only spot he's small leads,
Sure.
but it's like the equity nudging theoretical idea of like, this card is really good for us. Like they have these hands, so we want to put in a little bit of money just so they have to defend and not play that aggressively against it.
Right.
Like that's the bigger issue, like knowing when to lead big, when to lead small. Like I'm also working on when to lead big, when to lead small. Like that's more the issue versus like this spot of like, don't lead. It's like you can't lead because they still have really good hands and this didn't help you that much.
Yeah.
Even though it looks like it does because you check called the flop with your flush draws.
Right, yeah. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you guys want to submit to your own In the Muck, head over to our Discord channel, #Discord in the chat, or at onlyfriends_pod on Twitter. It's the pinned tweet. Follow that link. We have an entire Discord community as well as a forum for In the Muck. We'll be back tomorrow for Strat Chat with Matt. That's going to be at 10 a.m., not the usual noon. We have a prior engagement. Otherwise, we'll be back Friday at the normal time. So be sure to tune in to both of those episodes. I hope you guys enjoyed today. We'll see you guys early tomorrow morning.
Peace.
Squad.
Peace.